Welcome back to the Fried Files with Dr. Fu. This is a step podcast of the Marketing Influence podcast. This is our episode 3, and today we're going to talk about what brand safety tools actually do. So, Dr. Fu, let's start with the baseline. When a brand says they have brand safety in place, IAS, double verified, maybe moat, are these the tools that they really should be using?
Well, they have been using it. I would say it's not very effective. And the reason we know it's not very effective is because of all the scandals that we've seen over the years, where the big brands' ads are showing up on porn sites and piracy sites and even worse type sites I won't even name.
Okay.
So these companies are supposed to protect them from that. And more generally, they're supposed to use their technology to protect them from things like, an airline ad. The airline advertiser doesn't want their ad to show up on a news article, talk about a plane crash. Okay. So some of
Mm-hmm.
those obvious type scenarios that, sometimes you get a screenshot of it, you see it, it's kind of embarrassing, but it's over by the next news cycle. Brand safety has been sold as a bill of goods to these big advertisers, right? These companies have sold them on the concept of, okay, you don't want your airline ad to show up, on a news article talking about a plane crash.
Mm-hmm.
However, for years and years, right, if you think about TV, ads are showing up on evening news, even though evening news is reporting on a house fire, a plane crash, a killing, a murder, or whatever. So a lot of people, the consumers, don't associate the ad with the negative news thing. But yet this was something new that was invented by these verification companies as something new to sell to the advertisers for them to pay for. Now the problem is they've been paying millions upon millions of dollars for this. They have not been protected, right? We see glimpses of that in all the scandals that I mentioned before. But in general, here's something else that the advertisers don't know. These brand safety vendors have basically been lying to them in terms of their technical capabilities. So there's one specific thing that advertisers should know, but they probably don't. Most advertisers think when they buy brand safety from these vendors that they scan the contents of the page, right? So in that
Yeah.
article, there's going to be keywords in the text of that article. As it turns out, these brand safety vendors only look at the URL of the page, not the text content of the page. And they're looking for keywords in the URL. Okay. Now they do have services where they go back and scan the text content on the page, but that's only if the advertiser pays extra for them to go back and rescan everything. Okay. So for years and years, these vendors have been selling brand safety protection to the advertisers when they were only scanning the URL.
But
Okay.
the
So
URL may not say anything.
yes, exactly. So that's why they would miss most things. Or here's the issue back in 2020 when COVID hit, right? When the pandemic hit, the word COVID, COVID, was in the URL. So
Okay.
then the front page of the major newspapers that had to report on COVID-19, they were basically demonetized. And we have screenshots from 2020 where you see the cloud ads, which are basically the replacement ad when an ad gets blocked, right? So basically, not only did these brand safety vendors not protect the advertisers from really, really bad places, they also demonetized the publishers, meaning they blocked the ads from running on mainstream publishers where the ads should have gone, right? So they've actually actively caused harm to the entire industry, both
But
the advertisers,
how did that happen? How
because
did
when
that?
they block the ads, the publishers can't
Okay.
make money.
Uh,
Right. And so they blocked the ads because the word COVID appeared on the page. Right.
oh,
So they're, oh yeah,
not you.
we
Okay.
don't want the ads showing up on COVID
Okay.
related, because everyone was kind of afraid back in the
Okay.
beginning of the pandemic. So I've written about this. Other people have written about this, and some of the recent scandals actually got the DOJ involved and some senators to say, what the heck are these brand safety vendors doing when our ads, like these are taxpayer funded ads because Army, Navy, Air Force, they all do ads, right? They do digital
Okay.
ads. And those ads are showing up on really, really inappropriate places, right? So these are taxpayer funded ads that are showing up on inappropriate places. And all of these advertisers had paid for brand safety protection that didn't work. Okay. So that said, I would encourage the advertisers to rethink their approach to brand safety. Okay, I'm going to use a very simple example. The word kills. Okay. So in our analytics platform, what we do is we do scan the text of the page itself, not just the URL, but we show the 10 words before that keyword and the 10 words after. So in a very
Okay.
simple example, it says, if the water is too hot, it kills the yeast and your bread won't rise. Okay, clearly that's from a recipe site. It's a little tip.
Right.
So the word kills, when you can see it in the context, you can say, okay, well, that's not a brand safety issue, right? And I will tell you, most of the things that we flag are not brand safety issues. So as an analytics platform, we show the advertisers, we don't block it. We just say, take a look at this and verify very quickly whether it is a brand safety issue. And do you have any problems with your ad showing up on that bread recipe page? Probably
Mhm.
not if you saw it, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
again, you can save a ton of money. You don't have to pay for these brand safety vendors because first of all, their tech doesn't work. Second of all, they've been lying to you in terms of what their tech actually does. And third is you shouldn't be concerned with most of the incidents, right? Now, if those brand safety vendors actually do the blocking, which they did, they're actually preventing your ads from going to legitimate websites like news sites, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, all of which had to report on those, COVID. And and there's a recent study, and this was IAS and I believe Reuters. They published this, so I can talk about it. They said 50% of the pages that were not brand safe, that were actually safe, okay,
Mhm.
got blocked by IS. Okay, they published this themselves. I don't know why the heck they did that. That just basically tells me it's one more data point of how bad their tech is. They're blocking ads from going on legitimate news pages on Reuters.com. Okay. And so basically, if they're blocking ads from going to legitimate publishers, those ads are flowing to illegitimate places and they're not protecting the advertiser from that. So it's kind of a double whammy. You're wasting your money and your ads are going to worse places.
Redirecting. That's awful. And then it probably cuts back the media spend too, I would think at the same time, it seems like. Unless it's
Yeah,
just going to the bad sites like you
it
mentioned.
is. The
Yeah.
advertiser will
Right.
still spend in full, but if the ad got blocked from the mainstream publisher site, it still
Uh,
has to go somewhere, right? It's going to go to worse sites. And here's the thing. I'm going to use a simple example. Porn sites get around all these blocks by doing
mhm.
something very simple. Instead of PORN, they make it P0RN and they get around the blocks. It's that simple. It is so
That's
trivial.
creative.
It's comical, okay, how easy they can get around the blocks. So that's how, porn sites, piracy sites, and worse are still making money on digital ads. And the big advertisers are paying for brand safety and they're not getting protected from any of it.
And instead of brand safety, it's called hurting the brand,
Yeah. Brand
right?
harming.
So,
Yeah. It's actually
yeah.
worse than if you didn't pay for it.
So you can elect to just not take that extra cost of brand safety
Correct. Correct.
added to your
Yeah, save that cost.
page.
And,
Okay.
if you're still concerned about it, you can use a platform like mine, Foo Analytics, where we report to you the brand safety incidents and you can check it. I can tell you vast majority of those are not brand safety incidents, like the example I said before, right? If the
Mhm.
water is too hot, it kills the yeast and your bread won't rise. Okay, the word kills is in there. But if you
Mhm.
can see the 10 words before it and the 10 words
Yep.
after it, you'll
Makes
know that's
sense.
not a brand safety issue.
Makes total sense. So people should be using your platform. So, Dr. Fu, explain for us the made for advertising sites. I think a lot of people hear that term, but don't fully understand what they're looking at or what it means.
Yeah. So MFA, made for advertising sites, is kind of an acronym that's a euphemism, and it's typical of the industry trade groups. Okay, so IAB, Interactive Advertising Bureau, they came up with NHT, which is non-human traffic, and then IVT, or invalid traffic, when they should have just called it bots, when they just should have called it fraud. Okay, but they didn't. Okay, so like everything else, MFA, made for advertising site, is an three-letter acronym that basically covers it up and doesn't tell it like it is. It is fraud. So what it means is that there are entire sites that are set up just to run as much ads as possible, to make as much money as possible, as fast as possible, and then just disappear. Okay. So what I'm seeing recently in the data is that the bad guys are using AI to generate recipe sites. So all the food pictures are AI generated, all the recipes are AI generated. And you might wonder why recipe sites, right? Along the topic of brand safety. Recipe sites don't have the words shooting or blood or war or Iran in,
Right,
right?
right.
So they get by all the brand safety filters easily. Okay, so now you're running ads on these sites that no one's ever heard of. There's no human visitors, but yet are generating tens of millions of impressions each. And so just in the recent data, again, you look at these domains, they're just a bunch of keywords strung together. And then if you look up the domain, you'll see, oh, this domain is 10 days old. How is it possible that it's selling millions upon millions of ad impressions? Because it's 100% fraud. Okay, so made for advertising MFA is just a 3-letter acronym made by the industry to cover up what it is, which is 100% outright fraud.
And easy to do, right?
Super easy to do. And the same thing happens on the mobile app side. Okay, so do we need 100,000 flashlight apps when you have a flashlight built into your damn phone? Okay, you don't. Do we need 100,000 kids coloring apps or 100,000 solitaire apps? Okay, no, you have that built in on your desktop. You can play that on Microsoft Desktop. So all of those are made for advertising mobile apps, and their job is to load as many ad impressions as possible, as quickly as possible, to drain your budgets in full. Okay, so if you're not already using an inclusion list, you need to, because what I just told a client yesterday, there are unlimited bad guys, right? For every 10 sites you take down or add to your block list, there's 1,000 more they can just bring into rotation. Okay. So there's unlimited bad guys. You don't have enough time in a day to block all of them. So the main thing you got to do is move to an inclusion list and only put the sites that you've heard of in there. Only put the mobile apps that you've heard of or seen other people play in that. And then you will have cut down and avoided most of the fraud that's out there.
It sounds like the fraud is just evolved so much faster than the systems are able or designed to detect it.
Exactly, exactly. So both the fraud, the brand safety issues, remember the P0RN, right? It's that easy to get around the brand safety detections and filters. So bad guys, they don't have any rules that they have to play by, right? The good guys do. So if it's an arms race between bad guys and good guys will always lose, right? Bad guys will always be able to outrun, out innovate, outmaneuver anything that we can do. So it really comes back to, look at your own reports, look at your sales, use independent analytics, and don't just trust what the platforms tell you, right? And the brand safety vendors, brand safety BS is literally BS. They're
I like that. So you've said before that the bots learn to pass the test. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so there's simple things like if you see mouse movement, if you see clicks, if you see page scrolling, you're gonna assume that's humans. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so early in the early days, you can safely assume that, but that was 15 years ago. These days, bots can fake anything, right? I will tell you that 10 years ago, the bad guys were so bold, they were actually mocking us. We could actually see, we were looking at mouse movement patterns, right? So they would deliberately draw the satanic symbol with a mouse movement, okay, on the web page. They knew that we could see it. They knew that we couldn't do anything about it, right? So back then, they could
Wow.
already control the mouse movement to do whatever they want. And if they needed to be a little bit more sophisticated, you know what they do? They just record someone's actual mouse movement, right? So it's not perfectly straight lines, right? So you
Okay.
see curves and stops and all that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. They just record that and replay it. Okay. That's how you can defeat fraud detection, right? I've been doing fraud detection for 15 years. So I've seen everything. I've seen all the scenarios. But usually the presence of mouse movement, the presence of clicks are enough to defeat the other legacy fraud verification, right? They think, oh, we can say that a human clicked it or moved the mouse or something. You can't safely assume that unless you have the supporting data to show, right? So we see, bots clicking on the consent button. We see bots clicking on the ads. Oh, and by the way, we see humans clicking on the little X on the upper right-hand corner of the ad. Those shouldn't be counted as clicks because the human was trying to close the ad, not click the ad, right? So again, if you just look at the clicks, you might count that. In our case, in our analytics platform, in Foo Analytics, we actually look at where the click occurred. So if it's on the upper right-hand corner on the X itself, they're trying to close the ad. So we shouldn't count that as success for the campaign.
And it's probably always counted, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because
Mostly.
they count the presence of a click,
Yeah.
right? They don't count what was clicked.
They might be clicking. I'm
Yeah.
joking. Wow, that's a lot to digest. So as we wrap up this episode, Dr. Fu, what's the mindset shift you want marketers to walk away from?
I would just,
Excuse me,
yeah,
walk away with.
I would say think about TV, right? So if your ad
Mhm.
is running on evening news,
Okay.
even if it ran next to a segment that talks about a explosion or war or whatever, consumers are not going to, think negatively of your brand and ad because it showed up. They know that that's news and your ad is separate, right? So
Okay.
same principles apply in digital. Of course,
Okay.
you don't want your ads to go to piracy sites, porn sites, or worse. However, those are the exception, not the rule. So you're way overpaying for BS, right? You're
Right.
way overpaying for brand safety, which actually is BS because their tech doesn't work. So you might as well rethink that and see if you can save some money there. And again, still have analytics in place. So if there actually is a problem and your ads are going to places you don't want, you can add those to a block list and adjust the campaign parameters in your campaign setup and take care of it that way.
And that block list, I would imagine, is constantly being refreshed
Yes. Yeah.
and
So
updated.
a lot of this you can do yourself if you have the right analytics in place. And what we said before earlier in this episode is that those brand safety platforms are also blocking. So not only did they not protect you from your ads from going to bad sites, they also block the ads from going to good sites where actual humans are, right? The news sites,
Okay.
because the URL contained a particular keyword like COVID, and they block the ad from running there. And so the places where you do want your ads to be going are not getting your ads. And the places you don't want your ads to be going are getting your ads because they failed to actually protect you from those bad places. So BS, brand safety is BS, and you might as well save your money.
So you're a proponent of CTV then?
For CTV, that's a different beast.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is. You do have a way to buy from the real sellers like Disney Plus, Hulu,
Okay.
Paramount Plus, and whatever. But just be aware, if you're buying from DSPs like Trade Desk or DB360 or anything open, vast majority of that's going to be fraud because it is trivial for bad guys to pretend to be CTV.
Learning a lot every time I talk to you, Dr. Fu.
Thank
Your
you.
wealth of information.
Thanks for
Thank
having me.
you. This was our episode 3. We're going to have an episode 4 coming up shortly with Dr. Fu. Stay tuned. Thank you, Dr. Fu.
Thank you.